we're going 50 moves ahead of everyone else and still not letting people know there's going to be a car crash. That's right, and number 98, Limitless. Welcome to Long Play Video. Theme song. Nice. Okay, so welcome to Long Play Video, where we're running down my favorite 100 films of all time. The structure, as always, is we'll talk a little bit about the film, see what we remember from it, then we'll have a little bit of time travel, go away and watch the film, and come back. As always, no spoilers in the first half of the pod, but it's open season in the second half, so if you're playing along, definitely make sure that you go and watch the film in between. So today's film is Limitless. Came out in 2011, starring Bradley Cooper, Robert De Niro, Abby Cornish. The director is Neil Berger, written by Leslie Dixon. Made 161 million at the box office on a budget of 27 million, so did very well. And Kevin, what do you know about this film?
This is one of the seminal moments of this pod, I think, in that this is the first film that on the list that I've seen. Yeah, I know plenty about this film. And it's bizarre. We've gone from Juliet Naked. I had no idea what that film was. The artist I'd heard before. So this film where I've read the book and seen the film multiple times. Wow. So it's polar opposites.
Wow. But, so this is the one. This is the one where everything comes together.
Yeah, exactly. This is the only one on the list. And the rest of it will go back to normal. So no, if this was on my list, it'd be super high. I really like this film. I know we're going to talk about Bradley Cooper a bit because obviously this is a big movie for him. But yeah, I love the characters in it. I think for me, the reason I like it so much is it's my sci-fi. I think that's why I like it. So where people might watch alien films going, oh yeah, I really do believe there's aliens out there. I'm really intrigued to see what people think they look like. Or I love watching superhero films because I want to dream that people with superhero powers are out there helping the world. Whereas for me, I feel like, yes, I only use 10% of my brain. And imagine if I could use the other 90. That's my dream. What could I do with my life if I had another 90% of brain power?
Do you remember at all the first time you watched it?
First time I watched it, I definitely went to the cinema to see it. I remember being super excited to see it because I'd already read the book. And it's one of those things because often you watch a film after you've read a book and generally the film's not as good as the book. But I actually remember coming out thinking, yeah, I actually really enjoyed that. I thought Bradley Cooper's really good in it. Robert De Niro, I think, is really good in it. This probably would be in my top 10 films, I think.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see what comes up after this one on your list. What about you?
Yeah, unbelievably. And I realise that this is unbelievable. But I watched it on a plane.
If you're on a plane to Vegas, oh my God.
Slightly
when
less...
are you not on a plane watching movies?
Slightly less glamorous. I was on a plane to Baltimore for a wedding. And
coming down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think for the next one we'll be fully landed. I was talking to my wife about it. She was like, yeah, but you used to love watching movies on planes. Like as soon as we booked a plane ticket, you would be looking into what films were on the plane. And that is true. Yeah. So I noticed I gave it a 6 out of 10, which is a damning score. Yeah. This was about 6 months after it came out of the cinema as well. So it feels like it was on a plane pretty quickly at the time. Obviously, windows have squashed a bit now. I've watched it a couple of times since. And yeah, I do like it because it's a comedy, right? You're not supposed to think that the Bradley Cooper is suddenly the greatest person ever. His kind of what he uses the powers to do. It's not like he's become all powerful. Yeah.
No, exactly. He's not the best person in the world and suddenly he's incredible. It's more like he's using all of his brain where no one else is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really like the way that it's shot. And funnily enough, Neil Berger, the director, he also directed The Illusionist, which is a film that's way down on the list. I think maybe even top 20, because I do really like that film. And I think that's, as you say, the way I remember the different styles, like when he's on the drug, the kind of the third person and like having sort of multiple versions of him where he's sort of being John Malkovich was really good. So I do think it separates out a little bit. I would almost say this is like an action movie, and I don't have that many action movies on my list. There's a corker in a couple of weeks. And I think the way that this is shot it's very stylish. And I love the premise. Using your whole brain. So with that, you've got Lucy, you've got that Scarlett Johansson and Lucy, you've got Phenomenon, with John Travolta, which
Yeah,
I
John Travolta.
do actually think it is a good movie. I said to someone the
Oh
other
my
day,
God.
they said, what's your favorite John Travolta movie ever? And I said Phenomenon, which I was being funny. And they were like, oh, good, I'll go and watch it. And I just imagined, God, when they come back from that, but he buys her chairs. I think that's one of the most romantic lines ever in a movie.
Oh my God. That's a terrible movie. And there's so many bad John Travolta movies that you've somehow pulled out a terrible movie.
And then also The Lawnmower Man. Do you remember that? Back in the day,
Yeah.
it's the first
That was
time that there was virtual reality in a movie. So yeah, this is definitely the top one of those for me, which is why it's in the list. I also, reading the Empire review, it said it's like The Game but on crack. You remember The Game?
Oh, I love that's also in my list very high. I love The Game.
Yeah, that is also a really good movie. And I would say that this and The Game would probably be fighting for the same spot in my list. And then this one just this kind of edges that. Yeah.
Definitely. Great film. Michael Douglas, Sean Penn. Oh, at their best.
But funnily enough, we're talking about Bradley Cooper. Originally, when I was doing a bit of research, Shia LaBeouf was the main actor.
Oh my God.
And
that would have been so awful.
Yeah, he was in a car crash, so that's why he pulled out. Obviously, the film would have been a car crash, but I think it's a way different movie if it's got Shia LaBeouf in it.
For sure.
And again, from the same Empire review, they said he's both the peacock and the parody of one. And I think that's actually a really good way of putting it, because he's even in this, he's doing it with a bit of a glint in the eye. He's not taking it too seriously. He's obviously having fun. And this was his first kind of lead role, obviously, after the Hangover movies. And actually in 2011 as well, he was voted Sexiest Man Alive. This is where he comes to the fore, obviously just after the A-Team. I presume that's in your top 100 as well. What a great remake.
Not quite.
I think he's almost better when he's playing alongside someone else. He's a very charming best supporting actor, I think. I'm not sure whether he is a leading man. Is that controversy?
It might be controversial. I do like him, but I know what you mean. I have listened to some interviews with him, and he does talk about how it felt like it was never going to happen, and he felt sort of honoured when it did arrive. So I think he was very humble and grateful that he got a break. And then I don't know, maybe he just navigated himself nicely. He was like, I'm happy with a bit of fame. I don't need to be the most famous person in the world. If I was going to put his films on a list of Oscars, would I say that they're up there?
9 Oscars he's been nominated for now without a win. That's starting to get up there, and it means that he'll do an absolutely awful movie and then get given an Oscar for it, because everyone just feels like they should have given it to him before, and he'll get like a Scent of a Woman Oscar like De Niro did.
Let's just hope he doesn't slap someone before he accepts the Oscar.
It's a low bar for being an acceptable Oscar choice now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Will Smith.
So what are you most looking forward to seeing on the rewatch?
Oh, when he takes it and it first changes, just the thought of that being able to happen, of suddenly your mind increasing from 10% to 100%. Like when it just hits, the color changes, things speed up, and obviously they've got the things on the screen coming in to make it look like he's absorbing knowledge instantly. How about you? When was the last time you saw it?
I think about a little over a year ago, the Rewatchables actually did it, and I listened to the podcast and then watched it again. So yeah, I think the first time he takes a drug as well, I think it's so clever. The film itself and the colouring is quite dirty and quite low, and you don't almost realise it because it goes so well with the story. And then he takes the drug, and obviously, it completely cleans up, and brightness, and you're like, oh wow, geez, I hadn't noticed that was like that. And it's those kind of small things that I'm looking forward to seeing again.
Is there anything that you're worried about, or you think it might not hold up?
I'm interested to see just how much toxic masculinity there is in it, because obviously it is very one-dimensional. I remember there's a little bit of a stretch where he starts having the blackouts that is a bit like, all right, okay, get on with it. And it's a little bit loose. I think it's funny now. Obviously, this would be an AI movie now. There's no way that it would be drugs. But clearly, someone is going to write a movie where someone puts a chip on their brain, and that stimulates the brain, and you use all 100% of your brain rather than 10% of your brain. That is just there's got to be a script already doing the rounds in that. And then I think it's also Yeah, if not, here we go. We can go over
Here
it
we
and
go.
pitch it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to break the lines. And I think the one reference even now that doesn't hold up is obviously he's the most intelligent person in the world, and so that means he's going to be president. And isn't it longing for a time where you thought that intelligence was something that you would look for in a president of the United States?
Yeah. It was a strange part of the world when we had Trump and Boris Johnson, both heads of states for the US and the UK. It wasn't a great time, was it? But
well,
yeah,
that's
you're
the
right.
thing.
It's interesting, isn't it?
This predates it. So this is the golden era where we thought intelligence was needed to become head of state, which is nice. Yeah. Anything that you remember that you're looking back on thinking, yeah, is that going to stand up?
Other than obviously what you just spoken about, I think for me, the rest of it, I'm like, I remember really liking this film, and I'm just now worried that I watch it and think, oh no, I can't watch this film anymore. It really isn't appropriate. But I think generally most of it, I think, is going to be okay. I think from memory, but yeah, there'll be some fun bits. I'm sure there'll be some awesome overacting from De Niro that I'll fully appreciate. You could always rely on him for that. But I think it'll be good.
The writer for the movie is actually Leslie Dixon, who also wrote Thomas Crown Affair, which again is on the list, and also did some of the writing on Mrs. Doubtfire. So
another great film.
Got pedigree, and I do think it is really well written.
Is there anything that you remember in specific quotes or anything like that?
Yeah, you know me. Yeah, there's one that says, "Why is it when your life exceeds your wildest dreams, the knife appears at your back?" And I've always I think that is a quote that like sums up the movie really well. You're like, yeah, that's a little bit cheesy. So I'll give you a pass.
Yeah.
So I do remember that even at the time. I think when I was watching it the first time, I was taking it almost too seriously, and then. As you say, it's a fun film. It's well shot. I'm looking forward to watching it again. Let's go ahead and do that now, and we'll see you on the other side.
Amazing. What can I say? It still holds up for me. It's the fantasy for me still. I feel that I only use 10% of my brain, and there's more that can be utilized. And that fantasy will exist until I die, and unless that pill gets created at some point. But I liked it. There were still issues, and I'm sure we'll go into that, but I was pretty happy with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a film of two halves. I think the second half of it keeps getting better, and the first half of it keeps getting worse because he's clearly not using all of his brain in the first half. He's just using 10%. He's using some perception to basically make some money and sleep with some women, which I think is increasingly not holding up. But still, at the end, I still did have the let's go out and change the world. That's really awesome.
That was a really good point that you mentioned earlier around the fact that it's, what will we do? We'll become president, because that was what you did to change the world. Whereas the reality is now you'd probably become a Silicon Valley tech leader. This is probably what you would do now.
And you've got to stay in the shadows, right?
Yeah. And then he goes through 3 different haircut phases as well. He's down and out one, and he's semi-good one, and then he's senator one, which is all really tight and short.
I think that's the first thing he does on the second pill is realize that a ponytail isn't a good look for a man. And I think that shows that his intelligence is obviously going up.
Yeah, that's a good
thing
point
to do.
I did notice that when they do the first montage of him having the pill, and he's like, right, what would he do first? Obviously, other than like cleaning his flat, he has a haircut and a shave. He goes to the gym and he changes his clothes. I was thinking, this is interesting because we've decided the key 3 things that make you better in life are working out more, having a good haircut, and having good clothes. And the other thing was, I noticed that whenever he was in a really good moment, he was wearing the black leather jacket. And I was like, maybe I need to get a black leather jacket.
You've got to that stage in your life where you're not using your brain 100% of the time, but you are starting to consider a black leather jacket as a good look.
Yeah. I was like, is this something that makes you look more intelligent? I've not thought of it before. I
think that the very beginning of the movie, do always forget that it starts with him on top of the building, and I do think that is very it's a really good decision, because it shows you that things are going to go wrong, which is, and then I almost forget that we've seen that bit, and then the credits when they go down the building, and then they go into the zooming in and zooming out whilst moving. It just visually I think is really stunning. And then there's the callback to that when he has the blackouts, like when it starts going wrong. And so I think that again on this watch was really good for me, because it was because of the credits do that, and it's so visually startling that I'd almost, even watching it, I'd almost forgotten about him being on top of the building. But then because when he then blacks out, they do the same image. You're like, oh yeah, this is like at the beginning when he's on the top of the building. So then you're like, oh yeah, this does go really wrong. And I do think like after that first 40 minutes of him just being a complete sleazebag, and then when it starts all going wrong, and then he also has when he has the loan shark after him, which we'll go into as far as decision making is concerned. That means that there's actually something he's fighting against, and there's actually kind of tension, and then there's then almost a nemesis and a problem that he's trying to solve, I think. The first 30 minutes almost is just building up to that, and almost doing the backstory, which on this watch, and I remember watching it when I watched it a year ago, that first 30 minutes is it's getting tougher to watch, as to be said, because it's just
because you know what happens, right? So you just sort of like, get on with it. I know, we just want to see the good stuff. But you're right, I guess in the first watch you need that to be like, okay, I see what they're trying to do. But you're right, once you've seen it a few times, you're like, is there a sped up version of this that I can just go through this a little bit quicker? But I did one of the things I noticed this time around, I hadn't noticed before, when they start the very first credits and they've just got the first few cast members coming up and the name of the film, it comes up quickly, and it's one's like doom, and then the next one comes up doom, and it's in relation to them banging on the door, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I quite like that.
It's like in a dream sequence when the sound is actually from real life. I noticed that as well, and it does work really well.
And especially as, like you said, I completely forgot that they start at the beginning of the film, and so I was like, oh yeah, crap, I forgot. They're trying to get into his apartment, and then you're like, oh yeah. All right, so should we go through some of the key things? So what did you think was good about it? What did you enjoy about it?
There's the way that it was shot, and like after the 40-minute mark, I think that's when it really picks up. De Niro is good in it because he gives a foil to him. And actually, I think the De Niro speech, where he said, it's not all about intelligence. You have to have married the first wife that then has the father, blah, blah, blah. And you have to have kind of the lived experience. I think that almost, in comparison then to the first 30 minutes, is, look, in the first 30 minutes of the film, you're really intelligent, but you don't know anything. Like, you're not actually doing this right. And I think that speech almost saves it a little bit of, look, you can have all of your brain. And that doesn't actually mean that you're going to make good decisions, because obviously he hasn't made good decisions because he's at the top of the building. So I think that's a speech that then it's like, you need to still have intelligence isn't enough. You still need to do everything else, which is could even be the moral of the story in the end.
And I think that's the thing, is that you need to, and that's where they show you that disparity between Eddie and then the loan shark, is that they both are then on NZT, but actually they do completely different things and end up in completely different paths, and one of them still looking to gut one of them. And I think that just shows, like you said, you can expand your mind, but is your mind, where is your mind headed down? So ultimately, is it on the right path, or are you, like you said, does De Niro actually help him think about where should you be going? I thought De Niro was really good in this. Like, sometimes he can be a bit overplayed, and nowadays it's almost become too farcical, like he's almost playing a parody of himself, whereas I think in this he's just right. He doesn't overplay anything, he delivers good speeches. He's probably better in this than he needs to be, because the film's not like going to be an Oscar film, but I think he was really good and like understated, like in a sort of slightly evil way.
But I think with him and Pacino, that they fall into that problem now, where people like want them, the character of De Niro and Pacino. So I think it's good. I think this is before Meet the Fockers, so he hasn't gone full De Niro. But yeah, no, I think he's really good. And then again, I think because then with him, like Eddie has like something to play off of. And I think that's what's missing from the first half is just, oh, I'm so intelligent. Everyone loves me. This is good. Although even in the first scene, he like says, I must have missed something because he's at the top of the building just about to step off. And even then, when it gets back to that scene and he's waiting there and he says, oh, the longer I waited, the clearer I saw. And that's like when he's not on the jog. And that's obviously why he then drinks the blood. Drink the blood. I think it's sort of interesting that in that first bit it's very much about him being like, oh, perfect, because he's so intelligent, but he's not actually using it to do anything that's intelligent. And then but there are clues all the way through that actually he's not doing anything.
No, I do. I'm with you on that. I think it was but that was definitely interesting. And is there anything that you thought that you didn't that was bad or you didn't enjoy?
Why doesn't he just pay the loan shark back?
I know. Like, how does he forget about that? He's just like, you've got all of your brain. The one thing you should say is remember to pay the loan shark back.
Why does he even go to a loan shark? They say that he goes from 100,000 to 2.3 million in 12 days. So essentially you could do that and you could double that amount of time and then you wouldn't have had to go to a loan shark. So that, I think that's a monumentally bad decision. I do the bit where he's actually with the loan shark and the loan shark's like, why should I give you money? And he's like, if you look at column 4 on my accounts, as though like the loan shark's like into Excel, and he's like, this really looks like a good investment. I think then maybe he's not concentrating on the right thing. I think I have a question for you. If you had been dating someone presumably for over a year and you knew them really well, and then you split up with them, and then a week later they told you that they were fluent in Italian, would you react to that, do you think? Would you have some questions?
I'd be like, this is great news. How have I missed this side?
Would you have some self-doubt about how self-involved you are because your boyfriend or girlfriend knew Italian this whole time and it never came up?
I've got the answer to this, Andy. I know the reason why this has soured past and she didn't worry about it. It's the black leather jacket. Just you put it on and no one cares about anything. It solves all problems.
And so are you saying that you can put I'm now tempted to see you in a black leather jacket, either talking Italian or the fact that like no one cares that you can talk Italian? I'm not sure which one you're saying.
Probably not caring that I'm wearing a leather jacket, but I did think it was funny. I don't know if I'm just more sensitive to watching the things, but I thought, it's funny that they've just presumed that someone that works in an Italian restaurant is Italian and knows Italian, and that someone, I think, was in like a Japanese restaurant as well that knows Japanese. I was like, is this a little bit stereotypical? You want them to answer back in like a I don't know, like a New Jersey accent or something like like that would be brilliant. He'd be like, oh, sorry,
in New York, the great melting pot, you probably it's unlikely that they're going to have been Italian. And then the other thing that didn't hold up quite so well, the whole sort of him murdering someone. Do they sort of do a lot with that? It just seems a bit of a bit of a strange thing. They don't really focus as much. They don't explain if he murdered her or if he didn't murder her. They just like, well, he could have murdered someone, but that's just life. That's just life in the big city.
Yeah, exactly. But he's intelligent now, so it doesn't matter. We need him to be president. What? Hold on a minute. The murder is weird. I thought that they would go down the route of, obviously I've seen it many times, but originally you watch it, you think, surely they would get to a point where they prove that it wasn't him, or there's enough doubt in his mind that he's pretty confident it wasn't him. But that definitely doesn't happen. There's every chance that it could have been him, and he's just, let me just find some more NCT, and then this problem will go away.
And then obviously he's a senator, soon to be president, who may or may not have murdered a woman in a hotel room. That's just part of the course, really.
That was a prerequisite for him becoming senator. It was funny, actually. I was watching an episode of Billions where they did something similar, and everyone took this pill, and they're all like going through and going, oh my god, I can see things so much clearer now. And then one person comes in later who hasn't had any of the pills and goes, what are you guys all doing? You're all putting on terrible traits. Stop this. So that was quite a good funny thing.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. And
Yeah.
as far as describing the plot to an alien in 30 words or
Oh,
less, what did you go for?
this was beautiful for me. Take pills to become as intelligent as aliens. Which alien is not going to want to watch that?
They're going to feel threatened and destroy the Earth. I had
Yeah.
I had a man using 80% more of his brain than most people still makes really bad decisions.
Yes. How does he's always getting followed everywhere? It's like, how are you not seeing that you're getting followed? We've all seen the Matrix when you're being followed. Come on.
Although to be fair, that when I was thinking about which character I'd most like to be, that guy actually was the person I'd most like to be. It was the
The one that
bodyguard
gets
of the one who
the old guy,
he
the ice
gets
skate.
small childed. Yeah, because he's not on the drug. Just seems to be good at his job. He's following him around. He seems quite. There was something of the samurai about him. I think he was. As soon as his boss is dead, then he doesn't have any hard feelings to Eddie. He goes and helps him get his pills back, and he just presumably goes on to the next job. I thought, yeah, good on him. I worried that in the credits he is credited as man in tan coat.
Yes.
So again, obviously they're making a distinction between people in a leather jacket and people in tan coats.
There you go. He's so inconsequential because he's not in a leather jacket that they've not even bothered referencing who he is.
Man not in leather jacket. That's how we're going to describe him.
That should be a category going forward. Who is a person that is so inconsequential to the film, and they will be known as man not in or person not in leather jacket. Yeah, very good. Coat. So what did you have any life lessons that you took from the film?
I think the big one is, would you take it, knowing the consequences, knowing that you probably only had like 6 months of it? Would you take it? I was wondering. You pretty much answered this repeatedly throughout, as well as just wanting to buy a leather jacket, which might be a safer way. But if you knew that it was like 6 months and then like you're done.
Yeah, and not only that, you get worse, right? Anna Freya's character, she was saying that her knowledge and her ability, her cognition actually declines.
Yeah.
What do you think?Uld you take it?
I'm not sure that I would nowadays. It's because
of COVID. Are you worried about the conspiracy, the 5G?
An anti, not even back to. I'm an anti NCT. Have you ever read the book Flowers of Algernon, which this is usually based on? It's about someone with a very low IQ, and then they put him on a drug, and he gets a really high IQ, and then he comes back down. I think it's from the 60s. It's quite a sort of major book.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that he's happier kind of at his usual state. And when he gets really clever, like he's popular for a little while, but then there's no one to talk to because no one understands and stuff like that. So I think it's almost, and I think this shows it very well, that like you take your problems with you, even if you do wear a leather jacket. You're still the same person underneath the jacket. So I think I would be much more, I'm much more about balance these days. And having 6 spectacular months, I'm not sure that it would be worth it nowadays.
Man, there's something wrong with you. Obviously, I would be getting that in me as soon as possible. The
other one I always use a small child to defend yourself against a man with a knife. That was the other one that I thought was actually the life lesson I took away from it.
The other, I'll come to my life lesson in a minute, but on that scene, I was like, can you actually run on ice? I was like, they both run on ice.
They do well.
Like, is this possible? Would you just fall over?
Yeah.
I was like, that seemed a bit strange. But I think for me, my life lesson was, he messes it up near the end and he's running out of pills. It's, come on, man, you got to think about this. It's like the genie. When you get the genie, your first wish is ask for infinite wishes. So the first thing is recreate that pill so that you got enough of them as possible, and then you don't have to worry about running out.
And that's your life lesson. If you're ever in the situation where you get a pill that makes you super intelligent, first thing you do is make more pills. It seems like a super specific life lesson.
It's niche, but I can probably expand it to, if at any point in life things aren't going well, buy a black leather jacket. I think that's the ultimate life lesson, really.
I can just imagine you turning up to the next pod in a black leather jacket. It's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be good. And you'll notice a difference. I'll be oversaturated and everything will look clearer. And you'll be like, it used to look darker when I used to do these pods. Everything's clearer.
Are you using a ring light or something? Have you got a...
Yeah. Oh, funny.
What do you have as far as a different genre that you would make it?
So I had a fun one for this because I was trying to think what could work. And I'm like, there's sort of bits of action in it, is slight bits of comedy. And I was like, so it covers quite a lot of genres already, I thought. And so I thought this is the one that I was going to go for. And I thought this would be brilliant, especially with the extra intelligence. I would go for a period drama. A lot less leather jackets, but I think I could imagine it being quite interesting just watching them all just have these really articulate conversations between De Niro and Bradley Cooper while they're like he's on NZT and De Niro's like been around for ages. And I just thought, yeah, that could be quite interesting, like a little period drama.
He invents the car or the
yes,
something like that.
Yeah, what about you? What did you think?
For this one, I wondered, is it a superhero movie? The entire kind of premise of superhero movies that there's only 3 stories you can tell as a superhero story. You have the origin story, you have the turning evil story, and you have the is it me or is it my powers or is it this, like the suit or is it whatever? And it feels like this film has all of them, right? You have the origin story. You then have him being pretty evil because he's not using his powers for good. And then you have that moment at the end where is it actually, am I on the drug? Am I not on the drug? Am I already better? Am I now better than I was on the drug? Yeah. So I wondered actually, maybe it is a superhero movie.
Yeah. And then do you think it would, as in he would have actual superpowers as such in terms of intelligence?
Does he have superpowers? He can predict the future through maths and stuff. And it also means that because the baddie, the loan shark is quite comic book. The fact that the warning he says is I will cut you in half and pull your skin over your head and tie it. You don't die, you suffocate. And that's the warning as he's handing him $100,000. You're a bit like, that seems a bit extreme, to be honest with you. That seems a bit over the top.
And in terms of a threat, I feel like it's just you're like, yeah, okay, can we get to it? Come on, it's like dragging it out a bit. So I'll cut you in half. Okay, and then okay, got it. He was quite funny, that code. I did think he was quite good, but it's an interesting one in the film because you're right. Realistically, you would never give him the pills because that's a terrible idea. Yeah. And then you probably would never take the money out from the loan shark. But I do think that he works well in the film. And I think he adds a different angle to it that makes it, like you said, while he's constantly thinking about, oh my God, have I killed someone or not? Am I having enough NCT or not enough NCT? I've also got to try and make sure Robert De Niro is happy. On the sidelines, he's and also I might be getting killed by this guy.
Yeah. So I did the fact that just before he's torturing him, he says, "I'm getting out of this side of the business. I'm very busy. You're lucky I'm here." Which as he's about to torture him, you're like, "Oh, good. Yeah, thanks for that."
Yeah, that was good. Which character do you think you'd most like to be?
The Tanko man. I'm all in. He's the samurai.
I'm Eddie for sure.
Eddie in the black leather jacket. Let's define which one it is.
So let me ask you this then. So let's say, I was going to ask you this question. So you're not sure if you would take the pills or not, but let's say you had took them and so you were on them. Would you drink the blood?
It depends. Again, does drinking the blood actually help him get away from the two goons? I think we can call them goons, because like one of them shoots the other one, and then and then the one that's blind. I suppose he makes the guy blind.
Yeah, he gets the needle. Yeah,
so that's quite pivotal. So yeah, you'd be reaching for anything by then because you've got 2 people with guns who are just about to come and kill you in your house. So.
Yeah, I think I would definitely drink the blood. I'm going to go quite far, but
he's not wearing the jacket. It's not like it gets on the jacket. It's fine. You can always sponge blood off a leather jacket. So it's fine.
It'll be fine. I did think that was funny, actually. Something I just remembered at the start is as he's going through the stages and he's actually starting to use his intelligence, he basically just gets surrounded by rich people. That's what happens. He just gets rich friends. He's like, now I went to this place. And I was like, is that what happened? Do super intelligent people hang out with rich people? I'm like, I'm not sure that's necessarily always the case.
Yeah, I made some friends and they flew me out to this place with the beach. And just a bit like, this is what happens? I'm not sure. Maybe it was just the leather jacket. Maybe that was the point of it.
Man, I cannot wait to get a black leather jacket. It's going to change my life. So I did actually have a line that I really enjoyed in this. I'm not normally one that remembers the lines as much, but did you have anything that you particularly liked?
Yeah, I think actually his interplay with Abby Cornish is just it's just good all the way through. So when she breaks up with him and she says, come on, this is hardly a surprise. And he's a surprise to me. I think it just shows the difference. And then when she's trying to get the pills, he says, it's really simple. It's really simple, baby. I just need my pills. And she's, what pills? Yeah. It's complicated. You're like, it's either simple or it's complicated. Like you're gonna make up your mind.
That's a good point. And then you're right, he collapses in her room and he's about to die, and then he's like, oh, okay. And then I explained it all to her, and I was like, you didn't have time to explain it all to her. She still will go across the other side of New York in a cab. It's going to take forever.
Yeah. And I do think that the De Niro line, don't make the classic smart person mistake of thinking no one is smarter than you. I think that's a good line.
Yeah. I thought there were some good lines in this, actually. And like I said, I do think De Niro was really good in this. My favourite one was when he's talking to De Niro and he says, I don't have delusion of grandeur. I have a recipe for grandeur. I was like, yes, I like that. This is the kind of thing I would say when I've got those pills in my black leather jacket.
I think that's something you should go for in a job interview.
Can you imagine if I could pull that off? That would be pretty impressive.
I think, and then at the end, if you get the job or you get a different job, when at the very end, when he said, you should be glad about this because me working for you, you'd end up my bitch. I just think like every interview should end like that if you're not successful.
Yeah, that is good. You're right. That is really good at the end because you're like, oh, so actually he's the one. It's his lab. It's Robert De Niro's lab, and you're like, this is where they actually come from. Because they do well on that. Because really, they could really have gone down the route of, oh, we need to find out where these pills are made, how they're getting made, who's doing it. But actually, they're like, it's not really essential to the film as a whole. Like, if we start going down that road, we're going to get into a little bit of a rabbit hole bit. So they just keep it as a bit of a mystery, especially as obviously it doesn't work perfectly. It's probably more likely that company wants to keep it a mystery. But then it was nice at the end that you're just like, oh, okay, so it's his company and he knows all about it. That was interesting. Do you think there was anything that didn't stand up? Obviously, there were some bits in the film that probably aren't great in terms of just quality, but do you think there was anything that wouldn't stand up in the current times?
No, I think it probably, I would say, rolled into whether it would do better or worse today. I don't think it would do as well today because I think drugs have a worse reputation. I think with the opioid crisis, and funnily enough, even doing some of the research, like quite a lot of people were talking about like ADHD drugs that some college students are using in the US to essentially have the same thing where you can concentrate for longer. So I think the entire kind of drugs making you better, I don't think that really stands the test of time. And these days, as I say, I think this time it would be like a chip that goes in your brain that simulates everything. I think that would be the way forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now with all the AI and everything like that, it feels like it would be more machine-led than pharmaceutical-led, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anything for you? Any references that?
No, I think like you, it's a film within its era.
Yeah, so the DVD reviews for this were really interesting, actually.
Oh, yeah.
There was one star review. Bruce Willis is a favorite of mine, but this film is really weak. So weak that I just lost all interest, if I had any, before the end and shut it off to save myself any more misery. I read that and I was like, okay, that's a bit random.
Have I put in the wrong film?
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing Bruce Willis. Was he the man in a tan jacket?
And then the next one, literally the next review, this film is all over the place. It is meant to be about time travel. If you can understand this film, then you might enjoy it. I like films that are not too taxing on the old grey matter. Gladiator, Aliens, The Equalizer. Is Aliens not taxing on the old grey matter? I think Aliens is quite a deep film, isn't it? You know who the
Yeah.
good guys are and you know who the bad guys are. Films that you can sit down. And then there's a little bit more. And then
there's more. This same review.
And then this is the bit where you might realize this is almost like the 30 words to an alien. I lost the will to carry on when the 10-year-old boy had a paddy fit and his so-called mother locked herself in a safe. Bruce Willis was in it for the money and he looked confused throughout the entire film. Name that film.
Looper.
Looper. It is indeed. So I was like, that's a bit strange.
What are people doing? Writing reviews on other films to spoil stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But then, so I went to the 5-star reviews. These days, film companies shovel out the same over and over again just to make a quick buck. Quality is valued less and less because of the huge amount of idiots in the world that pay to watch films like Twilight. Harsh. As a result, Hollywood, etc., can get away with everything. But now and then, when they're sat at their table thinking about a new film, one modern-day Braveheart will say, we should make a good film with a good story and budget. This is one of those films. The story is set in the future where loopers are paid to... I'm like,
oh my God.
What is going on? There were no fewer than 8 different reviews for the Limitless DVD that were about Looper.
That's so random. And it's not even, obviously, the words of other than they actually both start with L. They could, you know what it is? I'm pretty sure he's got a leather jacket, actually. That's what's happened. That's random. Why can people that are watching Looper and then writing a review on Limitless, we understand why they'd be giving a bad review. I think
some of them gave it a good review. So.
Why would you? That's really random. Yeah. I mean, Looper is a good film.
And there's a lot of them. And then one of the reviews, this film has actually inspired me to be the best I can be. I'm also a huge fan of Bradley Cooper, and I definitely recommend this anyone. And one person found this helpful. One person found that helpful.
How many people found the Looper reviews helpful?
Yeah, no one found those useful because it's the wrong film. I did also look at the Empire review, and as well as because they had the great line about like Fincher's The Game on crack, which I thought was good. And then one of the reviews I saw on the site as well said, this movie smells like Axe body spray, which I think
that's harsh.
I think that's actually fair. I think that's fair.
No way. It smells like, well, a Lynx for everyone else, right? Oh, that's harsh. It's not that bad. I still like
the similar movies on Letterboxd as well are quite interesting. So you have Lucy, obviously. Then you have there's A Scanner Darkly, The Counselor, and Traffic, which I thought was interesting. Scanner Darkly, especially, is an interesting one. Then Requiem for a Dream, which I actually watched last year, which is a really tough film to watch, which is all about drugs. So that's why that's there. And then Minority Report. Again, I'm fairly sure Tom Cruise has a leather jacket in Minority Report. Is there some sort of worldwide leather jacket conspiracy that we've just stumbled upon?
We found it. We found the solution to looking cool in films. Yeah, I was trying to think what other films. I think you're right, obviously Lucy. Minority Report. I don't know. I don't know. There's not really many films that are similar to this, really, are there? I mean,
apart from Phenomenon, as we talked about as well.
Yeah. John Travolta at his best. There was one actually. I just remember now when I was watching it. They said the first film that they say is other films similar to this was Swordfish, which was another John Travolta film. So I was like, Andy would like that.
With the greatest hacking typing scene ever, when he's no, yes, as he's typing. It's Hugh Jackman. It is absolutely best.
Yeah.
So as far as where this is, I want to ask you the question in your top 100, because you said that this was like maybe top 10. On rewatch, does it stay top 10?
Oh, probably not. I think it would fall into maybe top 20, top 30. I do still really enjoy it. Yeah. I don't know. I think, like you said, it's maybe 20 minutes just too long. They just needed to tighten up some stuff. They probably didn't need to put that death scene in, like the whole storyline of the death. I don't think that really added anything to it. And then, as you said, they completely ignore it at the end. Yeah, it could have been a little bit tighter. But yeah, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought there's some really good things, like the cinematography was really good. I like the way that I forgot there was so much narration in it that he speaks a lot in it. And I was like, that adds to the film as well. I think De Niro was great. So yeah, I'd still think it would be pretty high up on my list, but it's sadly, sorry, Bradley, you're falling out of my top 10.
Yeah, I think at the end of it, I was still like, like that's good. But yeah, those first 30 minutes are getting tougher. I think I'm 98. I think it's a very watchable film. It's a fun film. I can see it one day getting replaced, but today is not that day. Yeah, I'm happy with it there. But yeah, I'm not sure that it definitely wouldn't get any lower in my top 100.
It'll be getting
But
binned at some point.
it felt like, to me, it felt that one mate that you have that can never get it together. And then suddenly they do. And you're just like, I'm really happy for you. And it felt like that, where he was like, you're making all these bad decisions, even though you're supposed to be super intelligent. But then at the end, especially with the De Niro like ending, which actually they shot 2 different endings. I don't know if you saw that. And the other ending you see on YouTube is not as good because it's a bit more like him talking about getting off the drug, whereas I think the actual ending they used is, I'm already off the drug, I'm already clean, and then I'm better. And I think like at the end still I was like, I'm glad that he turned it around. Obviously, we haven't seen the 12 months and all of the bad decisions, but he's got back with Abby. He's running for senator. He's got himself a real job. The haircut's awful. He's working it out.
Do you think he is off it at the end, or do you think he's still on it?
No, I think he's off it, but that he's maybe tweaked it, or he's used it enough to then have one of the lines from the alternative ending which is good. He says, "Maybe I asked the pill how I get off the pill. That's how it works." And you're like, that's a good point.
I felt that he was still on it. Like you said, he'd modified it and maybe he was using less of it. But I was like, they give the glimpses, like when he talks about because if you think about Anna Frale's character, she basically has it for 6 months and then her cognition declines massively, whereas his has improved. So I feel like there's no way that his could still be improved if he's not on it in some form. So I feel like he's on it in somehow. But
interesting.
Yeah. No, I have to watch it again.
Wishful thinking.
Exactly. You're right. Ever the optimist that this could still happen.
That's great. That's Limitless, first one on the list that you've seen. That's great. Yeah, we'll wrap there. I would say a very, very big thank you to Tom Evans for the fantastic theme music that we've got, and we'll move on to the next.
Indeed.
See you later.